The time has come. My tomatoes are finally ready for the ground. The required seedling height is 8 to 16 inches, 20 to 40 centimeters. I have two different groups of seedlings here. These larger ones are being planted today, while these smaller ones, well, although excellently rooted, will have to wait a bit longer to grow a little more and go through the hardening off period. But before a single plant touches the soil, the preparation must be perfect. First comes serious, deep digging. Then, my machine that replaces the hoe takes the stage, because the soil must be loose. We wait for the late afternoon hours to avoid the strongest sun, and we begin. We will demonstrate 3 methods of planting tomatoes. We start with the first method, shallow planting. I always use this when I have shorter seedlings that cannot be buried deeply. First, we dig a hole, just enough for the root to fit comfortably. But before we lower the tomato, well, here's a proven trick. It would be a mistake to plant a tomato without any starter fertilizer. We toss in a few leaves of fresh nettle. So why? Because it's a real nitrogen bomb that will give the plant starting kick for green mass growth. Now, we place the seedling in the center and water it generously. We use rainwater, as plants love it most. We cover only the root with soil, while the stem remains above the surface. Firm everything down well with your palms, and our seedling is ready to grow. Moving on to the second, well, and my favorite method, deep planting. This is a lifesaver for taller tomato seedlings. Why is this genius? The tomato is a true super plant. See these tiny hairs on the stem? As soon as they touch moist soil, they turn into roots. That's why we dig a more substantial hole here. Again, a little nettle goes at the bottom for a happy start. Then follows an important step. We cut off the lower leaves. We lower the seedling deep. Our goal is for a large part of the stem to end up underground. At least half of the stem, and maybe even 2/3, goes below the soil. We water with rainwater, cover it up, and firm it well. The result of deep planting? Well, you get a brutal root system. The larger the root, the more stable the plant is, and the easier it draws nutrients. My experience is clear. A deeply planted tomato is a true fortress. It's more resistant to drought, wind, and even diseases. If you ask me, this is the absolute winner in the garden. And we come to the third, well, perhaps most interesting way of planting, horizontal planting. This is an excellent technique for leggy tomato starts. Even though my seedlings aren't that long, they'll be enough to demonstrate the technique. I dig a shallow trench with my hands. I cut off the lower leaves on the seedling. I place the tomato seedling, pay attention now, completely horizontally. I secure it. Then I set up a support in the form of a stake, against which I lean the above ground part of the plant. I cover the horizontal part of the plant with soil. I tie the top of the plant to the stake. Again, along the entire part where the stem is in contact with the ground, the plant will form roots. In this case too, the tomato will have a massive root, which I consider a significant advantage for yield and plant health. Now that you know all this, you might wonder if shallow planting is a mistake. If you have long seedlings, it certainly is. Never plant tomato seedlings that have been raised indoors without a few days of hardening off. It would be a huge mistake to take a tomato straight from the room and plant it in the sun at 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius, or in a cold wind. Plants must be taken outside for a few hours over several days to adapt to outdoor conditions. Otherwise, they can suffer damage or even wither. Watch the spacing when planting. The minimum is 28 inches, 70 centimeters, between seedlings. It's a mistake to plant them too close. There is no airflow, moisture lingers, and disease spreads like wildfire. Is early planting a mistake? How to overcome the risk of low temperatures? The biggest enemy of young tomato seedlings is the wind, and an even bigger enemy is the cold wind. Early planting is beneficial, but risky due to low temperatures. If overnight temperatures drop below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, that's not good for tomatoes. However, deep planting provides some protection against low temperatures. And here's another way to protect tomatoes from the cold. Cut the bottom off a plastic gallon jug. Cover the tomato plant and secure it with soil around the edges. Keep this protection on for a few days until the risk of low temperatures passes. And that's it. Our seedlings are in the ground, safe and ready for a new beginning. Do you prefer shallow, deep, or horizontal planting? Share this video with friends who love this topic, but remember, planting is only half the job. For this tomato to be healthy, resilient, and for your branches to break under the weight of the fruit, it needs real, homemade food. As you've seen, I love nettle, but I make something even more powerful from it, and other weeds from the garden. The next step in your garden should be liquid fertilizer. To find out how to make it completely for free and how to pump up your tomatoes with it, watch this video I'm leaving for you here on the screen. Click it, and I'll see you there.